Why should you use a 3-yard quilt pattern for your panel fabric?
We're going to show you why. Hi, it's Donna Robertson.
And Fran Morgan with Fabric Cafe.
Did you know it was possible to use panel fabrics in a 3-yard quilt pattern?
It's such a fun way to spice up your 3-yard quilts and so easy to do.
And today we're going to share what some of our favorite 3-yard quilt patterns for panels are.
Let's check out the first one. Now this is our Soho pattern, and it is a great one because, as you can see, we have a nice big block here that can really show off a beautiful fabric, and you know that's always easy to do. But it's alternated with this very interesting block that kind of ends up being like a circle. So we have like circles and squares, and that gives it a lot of interest in this alternate block because, of course, your interest is going to be on beautiful fabric in this block, and this one's going to give it a lot of fun and a lot of playfulness. Super easy to put together. Let's go check out some fabric. Okay, so the first step we want to do is to check the pattern. The most important for me is to make sure that the blocks are cut independently and they're not like built into a strip assembly or something. That's going to be the easiest way to get a panel block into the quilt.
And Soho fits that. And it also does not use the #1 fabric out on the border.
That's a great point.
If you do have the #1 fabric in the border of a pattern, you just have to add extra fabric.
Yeah. But in this case, it works perfectly. Now, the second thing you want to check is the size of the block. So you want to measure your panel in your fabric and make sure that it's either a little bit larger or the same size as the block that you're going to be cutting. So that is also very important because you wouldn't want to have a 12-inch block but only a 10-inch panel block. So that's pretty important.
And you know what else that I found so fascinating when we first started working with panels is how the manufacturers have a lot of blocks like this where you could actually cut 3 different sizes of blocks.
That's true, and that's very nice because it keeps it super versatile. All right, now let's talk about how to cut these.
All right,
so the first thing I do, we have our panel fabric here, which is great. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open it up. The reason why we want to cut these independently is because when this is folded, these center sections don't necessarily line up right on top of each other. So we're going to open it up. And we're going to get our long ruler and cut off our first row of panel blocks here. So I have my long ruler and my rotary cutter. Okay, before I cut, now I'm going to cut right in between these, but I want to cut right in the middle to make sure that I leave plenty of room to square or anything I might need to do. So I'm just going to take my ruler and measure this. So in this case, there's 3/4 of an inch between these blocks here in this space. So I'm going to kind of center my ruler here, 3/8 of an inch, and line it up on the edge of that panel line there. And then I'm going to cut it. That's going to kind of put me right in the middle so I know I have plenty to work with. All right, we're going to just cut that there.
Well, you know, another good tip is to make sure that you have enough squares for the pattern that you've chosen.
True.
So when you look at your pattern, then you count your number of squares that you need and make sure that you've purchased enough fabric to fill all of those blocks.
A good tip. We've cut in between our panels here. Now we're going to cut the single panel, but I'm going to move this out of the way so that it's a little easier to see, and then I'm going to grab my big square and shifted this over. Now, the first thing I did, of course, is to check my size of my panel to my pattern. So I know this is going to work because I've already done that. The next thing I want to do is to make sure that I cut this panel block so that it's centered in the square. Now, on this quilt, we have a 9.5 square that is cut. Now, that is with the seam allowance, so it's not the finished size. So I need to cut this panel at 9.5. Now I'm going to measure these outside borders right here. So whenever I measure it right here, we are just an inch over 9.5.
Almost 9 3/4.
Almost 9 and almost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of shift this so that I can see. So my 9.5 inch line is there. And so that gives me about 3/4 of an inch on each side from this black line. So this is just one of the ways I'll actually look at the panel and use it to help me guide to get it centered. So I'm going to just kind of put this about 3 1/4 here, and I'm going to do this all the way around, all the way on these 2 sides here, because these are the 2 sides I'm going to cut. So I want to make sure that my 9 1/2 line on this side is truly centered. So that's very important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up this side right here, and then I'm going to cut it this way. Excuse me. And I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to trim that one next. And then I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to line up my 9 1/2 marks on these 2 edges that I just cut, and it looks like we're pretty centered.
Awesome.
So that's great. And then we just go in here, and we're going to trim these up, and this is going to be perfect for getting in that block.
Voila.
So I just love this block.
That is gorgeous.
It is so cute. And if we were putting this in the quilt, it would go right here.
Aw, that's so
Isn't that great?
sweet.
All right, now I have an alternate block that I can show you too, so let's get that up on the table. So this is our alternate block here. I love this together.
It was so simple.
It's so simple to do. Don't be afraid of this. This is so easy, and it makes such a great quilt.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have our kit up here with our pattern, and it's great because we've got our panel fabric in our number 1 position, which is our focus position, which works perfect. And this has some darling, darling panels on it. And if you can see on the screen, you can see all the different panels that we're showing you and how cute this really is.
This is a happy quilt.
Happy quilt.
Happy.
Love these bees. So we're going to go in all of our big blocks here. And then our number 2 fabric. Isn't this cute? It
That's
almost,
so sweet.
I can just, it makes me think of pollen on a flower petal.
Oh,
And the bees are
Yes.
transferring them.
absolutely.
And so our number 2 is going to go like in the center of our alternate square here, and then on the border and our little corners. Very cute.
And I love that little sparkle. The pollen
Love it.
look
Yes.
is kind of a little gold metallic, so it catches light.
It is. I like that too. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, and our number 3, beautiful honey gold here. That is going to go in our alternate block here and a little on our border. And I think it is perfect. It picks up all the right colors in our panel. It really contrasts with our number 2, and it's so sweet. I think this came together so well.
Oh, wow. I do too. I really like it. It looks very much kind of has that honeycomb kind of a look to it as well.
I love that.
Perfect pattern.
It is, and wow, how that panel just really makes the quilt dynamic and totally changes it.
It is definitely, the squares are definitely the focus.
Yes.
The focus fabric. And then the little honeycomb shape of the secondary block.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. Okay, the kit info on this one, it's called Busy Bee, and of course the pattern is Soho from our Quick as a Wink book.
Now, if you've fallen in love with the ease of making this particular quilt, but you don't have that panel, you can use regular fabric. Now, we have some great fabric here that also has bees in it.
It's so pretty.
And it has that little metallic sheen to it as well. They're just very small touches. This particular focus fabric is going to go in the number 1 spot, just like we used the panel in the number 1 spot. And then the number 2 spot, and again, we have that wonderful
Dusting of-
dusting of pollen. I thought that was really cute, Fran. But that's going to go everywhere you see the light color. And remember, your light color is always going to be your well, not always, but most of the time it is your resting spot, so you can see the other designs. And that's going to be your number 2 fabric. Your number 3 fabric is going to be this little honeycomb. Yeah, that's really cool.
It is.
And that's going to be every place that you see in the secondary block as well as on the border. What do you think?
Wow, I love it.
I do too. I think it's a very dramatic quilt, and it really does make you focus on that fabric because those bees are there. And I love it. It's almost like looking at a kaleidoscope in those blocks.
It is, and you know, it's interesting because the bees are very subtle. When you see this quilt image, it looks like this beautiful print, and then you look closer and there's bees on it, and it's so cool.
It is such a pretty quilt. And this one is called Buzzworthy, and it's with the Soho pattern from the Quick as a Wink book. Now this pattern is called Diversion, and I named it that because this particular one, I have 3 different blocks in this. And the reason I did that is because it gives you a lot of diversity whenever you're looking at your quilt. And you can still show off a beautiful fabric, whether it's a panel or regular fabric, right here. But then you also have an interesting 4-patch bordered, and then you also have a square in the square. So there's a lot going on in this quilt, and this keeps it from being boring. So let's talk about the gorgeous fabric we're going to put in this one. Now here's another gorgeous panel. I think we're going to love seeing the image on this one whenever we put this up on the screen. But let's talk about the fabric first. And remember earlier I said a good pattern to select is one that does not use any of the panel fabric in the border. Okay. So this one fits the bill. Now another thing that you'll notice about panels is that a lot of the manufacturers will give you extra out here. So if you measure this and it doesn't work for you for the measurement, then you could actually, cut it a little bit larger and it would look like you've bordered the block.
That's a great point.
So panels are pretty versatile when it comes to picking your block size.
Yes.
Now this is going to be everywhere in the Diversion pattern that we have the big block, and it is just going to be smashing.
Yes.
And we have lots of different colors in there in these panels. And then we have our number 2 fabric. And isn't this fun? We're always saying you want your number 2 fabric to not be boring, and this is not boring. It's beautiful. So there's this light background flower, kind of like it's just faded back. It does match this, so if you were to put a border on a bigger block, it would be beautiful in this right here. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yes, I love it.
And look at this blue. This is great. It has that depth to it because it has the light in the background, and it is going to be perfect as well. It's going to work with the panel, and you can see there's lots of that blue in that panel.
And I like that it has the dark blues and the light blues and the medium blues to pick up all of the blues in the panel. I think that's awesome.
Yes. Is that not gorgeous?
Oh, wow.
It does pick up the blues, and it also creates the contrast so that you can really see those panel fabrics.
The colors in this panel, they're just absolutely gorgeous, and it's just bursting with life, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It is so, so pretty. Now, we have really enjoyed taking our 3-yard quilt patterns that we currently have and putting all of our panels in it. But I have some really exciting news.
Okay, let's share.
So I want you guys to subscribe and hit that little bell for notification, because we are currently working on a set of panel patterns for you that are designed specifically for panels. And they're amazing. So we're working on them. We are wrapping up the editing. We will get those into stitchers, and we are gonna just have some amazing quilts. So you're not gonna wanna miss this. So remember, hit that bell and that subscribe button if you haven't yet.
Now, this particular kit is called Vibrant Life, and we're using the Diversion pattern from the Make It Easy book.
Okay, so just like we had in our Soho pattern, we had a 3-yard version that was not a panel kit. We have one for Diversion as well. And I think it looks so good because we have all of those great colors. Did you know I like bold?
I did notice that. Yes, she likes bold.
I really like bold colors, and this is bold colors and fits the bill for me perfect. So we've got all of these beautiful colors in here, and they're gonna go in our number 1 position with our block here, and it's just gonna give us so much depth and dimension because these go from light to dark, which is what gives us that dimension, all in the same fabric. And then our number 2 fabric, which is very cool, it's like the same print, but very quiet. It's whispering the same print.
Is this one yelling?
Yes. It's saying, I'm bold and I'm out there and I need a very quiet friend to listen to me. And so this number 2 fabric is going to go in our alternate block, as well as like the center of our square and a square, a little on the border here. But it has a lot of movement and texture, in a very quiet way.
Yes, absolutely.
But not boring, you know that.
Those quiet friends are important.
Yes, very, very important. And then our number 3, this beautiful jade green, which picks up many of the jade greens in our focus fabric. And that is going to go everywhere you see the blue here, a little on the border, and that is just going to give us that punch that we need, and it's going to be gorgeous. So the image on the screen, you can see it just looks like a party. You know, I love those fabrics like that.
That is. And you know, this is such a good example of how versatile 3-yard quilts are.
Yes.
Because, you know, you can use a panel, you can use 3 yards, and we're always telling you that any 3 yards will work with any one of our patterns.
So the name of this kit is called a Pixel Party. The pattern is Diversion from our Make It Easy book. Now this is one of my favorite quilts because it has so much movement, but it's also so simple. Now we have 2 blocks in this quilt. We have a nice big square here, which is great for a focus fabric or a panel block, and then alternated with a very big half square triangle. When you put this together and you rotate these just so, it creates so much movement, and it really gives a great place for this big square of fabric here to be the highlight of the show, and so fast to put together. So let's go check out some fabric. Now I think the Landslide pattern is perfect for panels, and I love the movement in Landslide and how it really highlights the focused fabric, which is going to be our panel. So in this case, we have a fun panel. I love this one. It's just like hand-painted look of art.
It is.
And if you look on the screen, we've got an image and you can see all the different squares in this yard of fabric. It is so cute, and all the different wildlife. I think it just is amazing. Now these are going to go everywhere the focus fabric square is on our Landslide here. And then we're going to pair it with our number 2 and 3. Our number 2 being a really nice texture with the lights and the darks again. And it's going to go everywhere this little polka dot is here and a little on the border. So cute, and I think it matches the focus fabric perfectly. And then our number 3, is this not so cool? It almost looks like, once again, like it's been hand painted again with the same kind of colors and everything as our focus with our panels.
It kind of looks like water, because all of these creatures are on water, I think.
Yeah, and it's so cool, and it's the best colors because it's the blue and the purple and the green, and I love that combination.
Absolutely.
So here we have our number 3 fabric. It is going to go everywhere this fabric is in our alternate block, half square triangle, little on the border, and the binding. And you can see how darling this panel looks in this pattern.
I like it. And you know that number 2 fabric really causes the panel to show.
Oh, it does. It really pops. And I love the movement that's created because of the contrast between the number 3 and the number 2.
And you know that layer cakes also work with our patterns.
Yeah.
And if you would like to watch a video, just check out this video about layer cakes with the 3-yard quilt patterns.
I think that's a great idea. The 3-yard quilts are so versatile in so many ways. Layer cakes, panels,
Absolutely.
so many different things. It's great. I love it. All right, let's get you the kit information on this one. It is called a Summer Splash, and this is our Landslide pattern from the book Quilts in a Jiffy.
So to continue with the diversity of 3-yard quilt patterns, we have yardage for this one as well. And this is fun fabric as well. It's so cute. We have the cute little frogs on the number 1 fabric, or the focus fabric, and we're going to put that everywhere where we have the square in the quilt. And that is going to be so cute. I want to get to know this frog. He's cute.
Quite dynamic, isn't he?
He is, and he's just perched on that lily pad so well. Now the number 2 fabric, and you know we've talked about this many times, but you always get your number 2 by comparing the 2 leftover fabrics and picking the lightest for your number 2 position. So that's a little clue for picking out your fabrics for your 3-yard quilts. And then you compare those 2, you put the number 2 in the position that we have this polka dot and out here on the border. And then the number 3 is the darkest of the 2. And I'm just curious, are these frog eyes?
They could be.
They're so cute.
It's very cute.
Yeah, I love polka dot with character, and that's what this is. It's a polka dot, but it's also a circle. And I think it's going to be really cute with, see how the little circles are in the eyes? That green makes the perfect background for the frogs. And then the white does the same thing. It really establishes the movement in this quilt with those half square triangles. And they're big half square triangles, so they'll go together really fast.
Yes.
So this one is called Frogtastic, and it's using the pattern Landslide from the book Quilts in a Jiffy. So this has been a lot of fun seeing panels in 3-yard quilt patterns. Have you ever used a panel in a 3-yard quilt?
If you have, we would love to find out any of your tips and tricks. Be sure and leave them in the comments below.
And if you want to get even more inspiration for using panels in the 3-yard quilt patterns, watch the video that pops up.
It's Fran Morgan
and Donna Robertson.
Happy quilting.